I'm Kirk Harnack on This Week in Radio Tech. This week, we're mourning the loss of our co-host for the last 11 years, a fantastic engineer, friend to so many people, Chris Tobin. Chris Tobin passed away last Saturday, and he won't be back with us on the show. We'll be doing a special tribute show in the coming days to Chris Tobin. But I'm sure Chris would want us to go ahead and do a show as usual this week, even though he couldn't be with us. John Bisset is our guest. He's coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we're talking about everything from the microphone to the light bulb. There it is, the light bulb at the top of the tower, right under the big fireplace. Hi, I'm Kirk Harnack. Delighted that you are here on Christmas Eve. And honestly, I can't remember if we've ever done a Christmas Eve show before, but we certainly are this year because we planned it that way. We wanted to get something done on Christmas Eve and thought maybe, hey, engineers may be off today. Maybe they've got a few extra minutes. Okay, I realize you're probably rounding up friends and family and maybe wrapping presents or making some hot chocolate. Whatever, you're getting ready to enjoy Christmas. Most of you, those of you who are of other faiths, we respect your faith and wish you a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is that, or Festivus, whatever you celebrate this time of year. We're glad that you're here and celebrating. So I'm Kirk Harnack. I work for the folks at the Telos Alliance, and I'm in the Telos Alliance studio. Says so right there on that side. And the Telos Alliance normally gives me a little time off on Thursday, but everybody at Telos Alliance has taken the day off except for a few tech support people. They're available. And I appreciate Telos Alliance and their willingness to be part of the show and letting me do this and sponsoring my studio, taking care of me that way. Thanks very much. All right. So today, if you, I'm sure many of you have heard, a few of you probably haven't, that my co-host of the last 11 years, Tobin, very sadly, very unexpectedly passed away last Saturday. And he was working at the station that he loved working at, WBGO FM in Newark, New Jersey, on a Saturday. And he passed away. I want to thank David Antoine for getting that word to me quickly. And it's been a tough week. We are going to do something special for Chris in the coming days. I don't have a date set yet, but probably sometime in the next week to 10 days, we're going to be doing a video tribute to Chris with many of his friends. We certainly can't get all of Chris's friends on, but many of his friends and colleagues and acquaintances will be on. Many of you have been wondering about services for Chris, and the latest information I have is that his widow, Lisa Chase, wanted to, also his brother and his mother wanted to wait until after the holidays to have the services, just out of respect for all of his friends, to let them enjoy their holidays, and then they would have a memorial service for Chris. And so that is going to occur probably on the first Sunday in January. So it'll be a week from this coming Sunday. It'll be the Sunday after our next TWiRT show. So information on that. If you'll like our Facebook channel, our Facebook page, then we'll keep you updated there. All right. And more information as we can possibly get it. So for today's show, we're going to continue as we would have. I sincerely believe that that's the way Chris would have wanted it. There are plenty of times that Chris was ready to go and be on the show, and something came up at the last minute. He was asked to produce a video show or be part of a governor's roundtable or something like this, or a mayor's show, very involved in the Newark, New Jersey area with public radio there and keeping the public informed with public policy and government programs. So I'm sure Chris would have wanted us to continue right on. And don't worry, we will absolutely have a tribute with many of your messages for Chris, and just watch our Facebook page for information on that. That said, let's roll into our show and bring in to you our guest, the beloved broadcast engineer. I think I'll make that. It's John.
We'll put that title on my card.
Hey, look, it's on the lower third. Look at the lower third.
There we go. Absolutely. Thank you.
That
Hey, and
Suncast
Kirk,
guy, he's on top of it. Yes, sir.
he really is. You were talking about things people were doing on Christmas Eve. Come on now.
Yeah.
Engineers start their shopping for Christmas on Christmas Eve. Don't they?
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about that. I'll start a little tradition right here. I have here. This is not a cup of wine that I blow on to make you think it's something hot. No. It's not even holiday. What was it? Wassail?
Wassail.
Wassail. Thank you. Wassail. I can't pronounce that kind of stuff. It is hot chocolate. I just made it. Let's check it. It's just the right temperature. I wish I could have made it, with real milk and all that, but it's good hot chocolate. But look what I'm going to.
Hey, folks. He's going to do that, but he needs to spill the hot chocolate in his console, right?
No. I don't have a console right here. I don't. The console. Okay. When I have a console, it's across the across the way. All right, so we're gonna shake up the Ready Whip, and we're gonna do a little hot chocolate here. Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh man.
Now, John, I never have asked. Do you have any children?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't have children. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, something that my son and I have enjoyed doing. When mom's not looking, we go into the kitchen, open the refrigerator, we grab the whipped cream, and we say, Michael, open your mouth. And you know what we do?
Oh, there you go. Absolutely. I know I'm teasing you about the kids. We used to do that with them all the time.
Okay.
3 that have a lot of fun with the hot chocolate and the whipped cream.
There you go. But if mom comes along, you can't admit to it because that's a guy thing. Although
and you can't let mom see you do that.
No. I don't know why that's a guy thing. And this was confirmed on what was this TV show? I can't draw on a blank right now. There's a TV show about a New York detective. Anyway, he was a confirmed bachelor, but he was of course kind of in love with the female detective, and he would sneak a shot of Ready Whip. And we're like, see, Laura, people do that. So now, well, I don't really want a mustache, so I'm not going to do this. I'm going to let that melt a little bit. I should have brought a spoon. I don't think I have one in here. I guess I could stir it up with a pocket knife, but that wouldn't really be kind of gross. So we're going to talk about a lot of things, Christmas traditions, Christmas gifts for engineers. We have something exciting going on too. And John, you and I got to talk about this a little bit earlier on this show. On this very show, we're giving away 3 7-inch Android tablets. Yeah. And in fact, I've got one back here that I've been charging. I actually don't know if it's on or not. If it's not on. Oh yeah, it's on. Okay. Let's swipe it up and put the password in. And there we go. I bought 4 of these with kind of the intention of giving 4 of them away. And then I thought, I'd kind of like to try one out myself. So I unboxed one myself. And I'm pausing here because this ain't the strongest processor in the world. There we go. Android tablet, and you know what? It's first of all, it's inexpensive, and so if you'd like to take a nice hot bath and peruse Facebook or Twitter or Reddit or your email while you're in the bathtub, if you drop this in the bathtub, it's probably going to die. It's not waterproof in any way. It's not whatever those numbers are about being waterproof and rainproof. It's not that. But you know what? If you kill it, you haven't lost that much in terms of money. So, and the other, it's responsive enough. You can play games on it. We play Minecraft on it, and I've used it to order from Amazon and to browse the web and to do a lot of Facebooking on it. The one downside of it though is the speaker is not all that impressive at all. So if you connect this to a Bluetooth speaker, and I've got several of these Bluetooth speakers that you get at trade shows that some people give away, right? It sounds great through the external Bluetooth speaker. So anyway, it's a good little device for consuming stuff. If you got to take a picture with it, it'll be horrible, but it's possible to do that. We're giving away 3 of these, John, on the show, and all you have to do to be eligible is if you're watching this live. Now, if you're not watching this live, we've already given all 3 of them away. You go to our Facebook page, This Week in Radio Tech's Facebook page, and there is a post that is pinned to the top of our Facebook page, and it has a picture of these 3 tablets along with the picture of the one that was already unboxed. Go to that post and comment in there. And if you want to, please, just leave a comment. It's fine of any kind. But if you leave a comment saying what you might think we should do on TWiRT in the coming year, that would be appreciated. We've got a lot of great suggestions, and some of those John and I are going to talk about on this show. We may even try to answer a couple questions preemptively and then get a real expert on the podcast this coming year to answer those questions more authoritatively. So the winner will be drawn at random from the comments. So go to Facebook, This Week in Radio Tech, like our page if you would. That'd be great if you would, and make a comment on that pinned post at the top. Tell us what you'd like to see or hear or learn about in 2021, and we will do our level best to make your wish come true. All right, John. First of all, I didn't say Merry Christmas, John. Good to see you.
And Merry Christmas to you, Kirk. Nice to see you as well. Thanks so much for having me join you.
Recently, you were, it was noted that you had been writing your workbench column for Radio World for quite a number of years. What can you tell us about that event?
Boy, well, 30 years ago, the owner of Radio World at the time, Steve Dana, came up with an idea of wanting to expand the newspaper portion of the paper into more technical articles. And I'd been writing a few technical articles, reviews of equipment and things like that. And he approached me about writing a technical column, and came up with the name Workbench. This was all Steve's doing. Steve, by the way, had a background in technical work, and he worked for one of the 3-letter spy agencies. I don't know if everybody knows that or not, but he had a lot of good information technically that he wanted to see disseminated to broadcast engineers, and he asked me about doing it, and I said, sure, we'll give it a try and see what happens. And so that was 30 some odd years ago, and the assistant editor, Emily Reichert, was the one that went back through all of the issues of Radio World and found the first column that happened in November 30 years ago. And it was really kind of neat. Radio World kept all of the issues bound every year. Steve would bind the previous year's Radio Worlds in these big leather binders. It was like basically a book. It was a book bindery that did the collation of everything. So he had all of these books for one year after another sitting up on a shelf. And she went back through and found the very first column. And so Paul did a wonderful job. It was really quite touching, all the things that he and so many of the readers of Workbench have gotten back in touch with me and said. And I really appreciate the readers. Kirk, just like you've been on the air a lot, listeners and people that viewed you on TV, they really develop an affinity for you, and to relate that information to you is really pretty neat. I tell people it's a lot like being on the air. You don't know who's reading what you've written, and so getting word back from someone that hey, this tip helped them, or they enjoyed reading such and such, it's very satisfying. So I'm glad that I've been able to do this for 30 years, and let's see if we can make another 30. We'll see what happens.
Wow, that would be something. And if people aren't familiar with Workbench, with your column, by the way, is that in every issue of Radio World? Every other column? Is that in?
No, it's in every issue. Yes.
Wow. I'm amazed how you gather all these ideas. Well, I get people send them into you because they're familiar with it. I thought that there'd be a getting started period when people hadn't yet made it a habit to think of John Bisset and Workbench when they discovered, hey, this is kind of neat. How did you?
Yeah, that's true.
Were there lean times when you had to really scramble to come up with ideas?
No, probably the very first few issues, but once we got started, and at the time I was a chief engineer and I was also doing contract work. So, I was exposed to a lot of different stations and a lot of problems. So I was able to incorporate the solutions to a lot of those problems with the column. So, and then that would jar somebody, hey, I had something similar, and they'd get in touch. I think the biggest surprise, Kirk, is the number of engineers that I talk to, even now working for Telos. I'll visit their stations and I'll see something and say, man, this is great for Workbench. I want to put this in the column. Oh, everybody knows that. Why would you want to put something in there? And that's the biggest surprise. Everybody doesn't know that, and especially
Yes,
with
right.
the new folks that are coming aboard now. I mean, the all of the tricks that you and I have known for 20 years, 30 years. I mean, they have no clue, and unfortunately, unlike us who started with a an Elmer or a chief engineer who worked or we worked under and learned from. These guys are kind of thrown into the deep end of the pool, and you sink or swim. So having the ability to relate these ideas and to help them do their job more efficiently is really neat. Really appreciate Radio World and Telos's support of the column as well.
It just occurred to me, John, that I've got a topic for you for an upcoming article. Do you have a pen and paper handy? Can you take a note?
I certainly do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
So I related this on a previous TWiRT just recently, but we had one heck of a problem in Hawaii when I was there a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. We had a problem whereby this mountaintop site on Mount Kahili, none of the transmitters there are very high power. There may be a 2.5 kilowatt transmitter there, but I don't actually think so. I think they're all a kilowatt or less. But there are probably 7 or 8 transmitters in this little building. And what's the real problem, though, is their antennas. There's not a tall tower at this site. They're just wooden poles and some metal poles actually strapped to the building. So all the transmit antennas are literally within 15 feet of your head.
Wow.
All these antennas are. I don't, I haven't even begun to think, is this proper from a exposure to RF radiation point of view? I have no idea. Yeah. But I can tell you that there's a lot of FMRF right there in the building. And the other engineers there have had a really hard time getting any IT equipment to work properly, like an Ethernet switch or IP connected transmitters, audio processors, remote control systems, and so forth. So there's been plenty of trips made to this transmitter site just to go reset a breaker, or unplug a transmitter, put it back in, or an audio processor or something like that, because they don't have a good way to remote control it. And I thought, I need to get IP up there. We need to be able to remote control our transmitter, because we have spent thousands of dollars on helicopter rides to have our general manager fly up there and just pull the power plug and reset something. So, the long story short is that I happened to bring with me, John, a MikroTik brand router that I told it, don't be a router. I don't need a router. I configured it. Just be an access point and a switch. Don't worry about being a router. And so it was an Ethernet switch and a Wi-Fi access point. And the access point really was only for the sake of one piece of equipment I have up there, and that's a Wise brand camera. We're cheap. It was $20, and so we put a $20 camera up there. And it only connects via Wi-Fi. It doesn't have a jack on it to connect hardwired. So we put an IP radio link up there. We got the IP radio link working fine. We also have a Nautel transmitter. We have a BW transmitter for backup. We have an IP controlled power strip up there, and the Wise camera. And I guess that's all we have that's IP controlled at the moment. But whenever I would plug things together, they would work for a few minutes and then they'd quit working. And it turned out that the quit working happened because it appeared that the Ethernet switch was getting stupid, maybe from RF. And so I found some of those toroidal cores that ship with Nautel transmitters, and I wrapped all my cables, all 4 or 5 of them, including the little power cable, wrapped all those through those going into the Ethernet switch. and it increased the period of time before the switch got stupid again, but it still got stupid. I thought, I can't leave here like this. Well, it turns out that this particular MikroTik switch, it's the RB 2011 series. It's the one that's it's red and black, and it's a metal case. It's got a little touchscreen on the top of it, which is too small to actually fit your finger on. But it's got a metal case. And I thought, well, it's got a ground stud on the back of it. I thought, well, what if I ground this case? So I found some actual green jacketed ground wire, and I made a lug, and I grounded one side. I didn't really know what a good ground in the building was. I found out later there is a good ground. In fact, the entire floor is covered with a copper sheet, and that goes to some ground. But I didn't know that at the time because there's something on top of the copper floor, or maybe it's just dirt. I don't know. But anyway, I grounded it to the ground stud on the back of our Nautel transmitter, which was only about 3.5 feet away. So 3.5 feet, got this ground, and I'm just hoping that the Nautel was grounded to something good. I didn't put it in, so I'm not entirely familiar with the operation there. You know what? Solved the problem. Completely solved the problem. It's been reliable. In fact, right here on my computer, I can bring up the Wise app through the I'll have another tip for you. Bring up the Wise app and look at that camera all day long, and it works just great. So
that's
IT
really
equipment.
neat. And absolutely.
Yeah.
And, Kirk, your point about cheap IP cameras, they are very inexpensive. And if you don't have one or two or more around your transmitter site, really great idea. Good security. I had a tip that we ran maybe about a month or so ago, and also was a part of a generator session that I did for the SBE, where this engineer placed his IP camera in the corner of the outside of the building and aimed it to the entrance, but it also showed the generator and showed the generator exhaust port. So he could see the little flapper valve going up when the generator was on. Gave him an idea that the generator was actually running if he had a question as to whether they lost power or whatever. So you can do a lot of really neat things with the IP cameras. And speaking of Hawaii, when I was out there visiting some customers, a couple of them, Dale in particular, had his IP cameras facing the thermostat or the temperature gauge inside the transmitter room. And also they were able to switch cameras and look at the status alarms on the transmitters. So that was kind of neat. I mean, wouldn't it be neat to know what's wrong before you even get to the transmitter site so you can grab an appropriate part or tool or whatever?
That is a great idea. Pointing the camera at what you have to see. But so many devices now are becoming IP aware or IP connected. I just thought, if you've got a thermostat at your transmitter site, now there may be, but I don't know of any thermostats that are IP connected that are wired. The ones that I know of are all Wi-Fi. If there is a wired one, it's probably of a commercial quality, commercial variety, maybe pretty expensive. But I paid. I've got some here at this house, two of them that Chris Tarr recommended to me literally 13, 14 years ago, and they still work great. The companies that makes those have been improving the app. They are I'm trying to remember the name of the company that they are, but anyway, the app looks like this, and I'm sure that's going to be blown out. I was seeing if the camera might adjust, but no, it's not going to. That's right, because it's a manually controlled camera right now. But this app works great. And then at the cabin, we have one that's a Sensi brand, Sensi, Sensi. And you can not only see about, whether it's heating, whether it's cooling, you can remotely set the temperature up and down. You can also set limits so that user limits. So somebody can't go punch in, I want it really cold in here, I'm going to turn it down to 50 degrees. No, you can fix that. What's also cool is most of these apps nowadays have usage. For example,
Wow.
I can tell you right now that the heat pump at the cabin is not heat pumping. It's on auxiliary heat a lot. And so that's somebody else's responsibility to fix, but we got to get that fixed so that it's not on the auxiliary heat a lot. I can just tell, hey, if it's not heat pumping, it's on aux heat. That's bad. So, there's all kinds of things you can do once you're finally IP connected. John, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to read some of our comments we have so far in our contest to win one of three today. During this show, we're going to give away 3 of these 7-inch Android tablets. And we're going to read a few comments that are there right now. Doesn't mean that they're the winners. It means we're going to read some comments. And if it's not too late for you to enter, just go to our Facebook page, This Week in Radio Tech on Facebook. And hey, appreciate if you like or follow the page. But go ahead and make a comment under that top pinned post about these tablets. And you make a comment, maybe tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about next year, and we'll do everything we can to get that done. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at a couple comments and see what some ideas are, maybe answer a question or two here preemptively. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, episode 524, is brought to you in part by our friends at Broadcast Bionics, where right now they're all going to sleep waiting for Santa to show up because it's over in England. We'll be right back after this word about Xscreen.
Xscreen 2, the simply amazing new way to control, screen and log calls using your Telos HX6, IQ6 or VX Talk Show systems, helping you to get the best calls to air quickly and easily. Xscreen 2 is a powerful touchscreen interface that connects alongside your VSet 6 or VSet 12 handsets and even enables you to screen directly on your PC using a USB headset or sound card. Xscreen 2 clearly displays the status of lines and hybrids, quickly captures caller details for screening and automatically stores a log of calls and easily manages station and show directories of important numbers. There's also a scheduling clock and chat window for instant messaging and visual talkback to other Xscreen workstations on the system. As soon as a line rings, the caller's name is displayed if they've rung before, and we can look up their location. Xscreen also usefully shows how many times they've called before and when they last called. You can add alerts to identify nuisance or persistent callers before you've even answered the call. To route a call to the VSet or headset, simply click on the handset symbol, exactly as you would use the button on the VSet. Using the other icon on the line, we can hold the call or route the call to a hybrid. Selecting an alternative device will change the icon key so you'll always know the destination of the call. The tabs on the right-hand side provide more information and control the selected caller. We can add this caller to a caller directory or create a manual entry for someone we call regularly. Calling someone is as simple as just clicking dial on their entry. A free version of Xscreen is included with your HX6, IQ6 and VX Talk Show system. The full version of the software enables the caller database, directories and alerts and other cloud-based features. All Telos customers can try the full version for 3 months by downloading the free trial. More information is available by contacting Broadcast Bionics or your local dealer.
Thanks so much to Broadcast Bionics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. They're good people. Go to bionic.radio and read all about it. And in the U.S., they're represented by Broadcasters General Store. So check them out. Xscreen, free software to take care of there's BGS, bgs.cc. You can learn more about it there. Or go to, as we said, bionic.radio. Good folks and really clever software. John, you're a little bit familiar with Bionic software, including Xscreen, aren't you?
Yeah. I am. And it's really pretty neat. We've got a lot of customers who have purchased it and enjoy using it.
You know, I just thought about the IP capability we now have at the transmitter site in Hawaii. And by the way, we did have IP before, but it was via Hawaii Public Radio, who loaned us a little bit of bandwidth off their 4G LTE router. And I want to thank Don Mussel and Hawaii Public Radio for that. But we knew that in the long run, we needed to have our own bandwidth. We didn't need to depend on them and their generosity. So, and also, a little bit of a security issue when you got people sharing something because we had access to one of their computers in order to get on that. So we made arrangements for our own IP. Well, after I installed the camera, and I only had time to install one camera. I really wish I could have installed an outdoor camera because the view from up there is amazing. But that site has been vandalized several times. And even recently, it's been vandalized because it's kind of a rite of passage for some high school boys, to maybe girls too, to climb up the trail and get up to this site without taking a helicopter. It's a heck of a climb. I know when I went down that climb. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, I got an alert on my phone about the Wise camera picking up some motion in the building. And of course, except for the little LED lights on the exciter, there shouldn't be any motion. So I went and looked at the clip, and it was like the lights or some light was going on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off real fast in the building. I thought, power? is power going on and off? Because normally the lights are out in there, but if a light were to come on, it would, for a brief second, overwhelm the infrared sensor on the camera before the camera switched to normal lighting mode. And I heard this noise because you could hear, not the audio's not great, but you could hear on the recording, oh my God, somebody trying to break in? It sounds like somebody's trying to break in. The way the door is set, it's got a huge chain on it, but it doesn't quite fit in the door jamb. And so the door actually is a little bit ajar. I mean, you can rattle the door and get maybe a quarter to a half inch of gap in the door, but it's got this enormous chain on it. So anyway, I was concerned. I thought maybe we should, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let Don Muscle know. I let Don know. I called Don and Don Muscle, and he said, it could be the wind. Oh, yeah, it could be the wind. Went back and watched the video again. I said, yeah, it's the wind whipping around that building, and just the right angle was causing the door to go like this, letting the light in and not in, and in and not in, and in and not in through a half-inch gap in the door jamb. And so that was
but that saved you a helicopter ride, right?
Yeah, to go check out, or maybe even a false report to the police. Hey, we think somebody's trying to break in, like they did a few months ago when they really did break in. So, nobody wants to make a false report to the police, and they of course they might just have to say, yeah, well, that's way up there on Kahili. Sorry, we can put a car down at the bottom and see if there's any cars parked down there, but sorry, you're on your own. So anyway, another use for an IP camera that tell you something that you wouldn't otherwise be aware of. In my case, maybe I'd rather not been aware of it. But now we know it may be good to get that door really fixed. Let's see. We should take a look at a couple of these comments. So
I think you said that there were a couple that had to do with IP cameras or the internet, using that for connectivity. So let's take a look at that.
Let's see here. Just so many comments. Mark Garrett says, and these are the comments from our post that's pinned at the top of the This Week in Radio Tech page on Facebook. And this is how you be eligible. Just make your request. But here's some that have come in just in the last few minutes. Mark Garrett says, I'd like to see a tutorial on how to do RDS in 2021. What's the latest, greatest from basic scrolling messages and such? And we've had a guest on before, Alan Jurison from iHeart. But we ought to have Alan back on again to see what, if anything, has changed. John, I recently installed a new expensive radio in my 15-year-old BMW, and it's confusing. I thought I would see lots of RDS data, and you do after you push a couple buttons. So the RDS implementations in the receivers are just all over the place, all over the map, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a good idea. Let's see. Wally Walrow writes, he'd like to understand more about ATSC 3.0 for television, but wait, and music streaming. You can fit, I think, several hundred stations streaming on an ATSC 3.0 signal. And you can even share, room for dozens of stations with the normal video broadcast. It says he saw a press release where Como TV had partnered to have several music channels as part of their ATSC service. More competition for radio, unless radio gets in there and does some arrangements with TV stations running ATSC 3. Let's see. Wally would also like to know about high-res music streaming and whether that's really a thing or not. So, Wally, thank you for those. I could see high-res streaming being a premium service because delivery is just not that expensive, and so you can get people to pay for it. Personally, I'm generally okay with normal AAC streaming, even at medium bit rates. But I can certainly see there's times when I thought I wish this quality was better, and so high quality streaming would be desirable there. We've had a number of people ask in the comments about understanding more about how AES 67 can coexist and work with other AOIP protocols like Livewire or like Dante or like WheatNet, and to see where do these things cross paths and where do they really not work together very well. So some people would like to learn about that, and that's a great idea. I can tell you that the networks, the IP networks, can carry all these things at the same time. No problem. The question comes to the endpoints, the devices. Do they speak enough of the other languages in addition to their own in order to make that happen? And there are some devices that'll convert things for you. Like you can take a LiveWire, an X node, like one of these X nodes I have over here. And you can take one of these and you can receive, for example, a LiveWire stream and convert it into an AES67 stream, or vice versa. If you've got an end device that doesn't speak the other thing that it needs to speak, you can do a conversion. That takes up some hardware to do that, but you can certainly do that. John, do you get that question when you're talking to folks about AOIP?
Yes, I do. And, Kirk, I think it's a good point to bring up. There is no AES 67 police, so it's buyer beware. You've got to make sure that the equipment that you're buying is AES 67 compliant, not compatible. Compatible means it meets 2 or 3 of the standards. Compliant means it meets all of the standards. Fortunately for Telos, all of our gear is AES 67 compliant. So, but that is something that engineers need to be aware of, because you can get yourself painted in a corner with something that you think is going to work and then find out that it doesn't.
Well, as I often say, this is the beauty of standards. There are so many of them. Now, and I must say, we've had guests on before talking about building a whole facility using Dante or AES67 and then needing to add some LiveWire or WheatNet or cross the streams a bit, one to the other. And they say, generally it works out. It does involve some typing, right? Even using a piece of gear like Axia gear that specifically is designed to make AES67 easy, it still can involve some typing or copy paste to get the stream, the SDP, the session description protocol, plugged into the foreign device so that it knows exactly not only what channel to pick up, where it is, what its multicast IP address is, or its unicast IP address, or its SIP address, because there's different ways to get an AES67 stream. But also to describe, you have to tell the device enough about, hey, it's at 44.1 sampling, or it's at 48 sampling. It's stereo. It's 2 channels. It's not 12 channels, right? So there's things that you need to tell the end device about it. And that's, with LiveWire, and I believe with the other proprietary protocols as well, things are a lot easier. You point and click, and you're done. AES67, I know that Axia has a certain amount of point and click on that. But it can involve some typing. I think a little bit bigger problem for people is the signaling, the GPIO signaling from device to device. Yes. And a lot of folks will just use LiveWire's GPIO signaling for that wherever they possibly can.
Good.
So let's see what else here. Somebody wants to know, what's the status of studio remote technology for interviews, like ISDN replacements? Of course, IP has been around as a bona fide replacement for a good 10, 12, 13 years now, maybe a bit more. But there's still some incompatibilities there. So do your customers ask you about that, John?
We get that from time to time, and keeping with one brand or one model of IP codec seems to solve that problem. It's not to say that that you can't mix and match, but you end up losing a lot of the features if you end up doing something like that.
Yeah, you do. Typically when a Telos codec needs to talk to a Comrex or a Tie-Line codec, you end up at what you might call the least common denominator of compatibility. And yes, you can make them talk to each other, but if you're used to some of the features in a Comrex, you're probably going to lose some of the automatic features that they've added to increase their value and increase your satisfaction. Same thing with Telos devices. These manufacturers, including Telos, we don't design them to not be compatible, but it's just like the best engine to use in a Ford car is probably a Ford engine, right? Because the bolt holes are all in the right places, right? Yeah, you can make a Chevy engine fit in a Ford car with an adapter kit and a whole bunch of brackets, and a whole lot of drilling and some bolts, and it's kind of a mess. You can do it, but it's kind of a mess. Same thing for cross compatibility. With codecs. Yes, just because 2 codecs speak AAC, believe it or not, doesn't mean they speak the same AAC with all the same packet attributes and the other fields. It's frustrating for us too. I mean, Telos has built devices that both speak AAC and they don't talk to each other. And that's not by our design. That's there's only so much that you can do. So it's tough, but we really try. John, somebody wants to know us to do. In fact, it's Ed Noyes from South Carolina would like to see a show on transmitter site maintenance, keeping critters and insects at bay, weed control solutions, security options, etc. That's a good idea.
Boy, that's right up my alley, isn't it?
Yes,
we've had so many. We've had so many good comments and submissions to Workbench on things like that. Probably two things I can tell you, Ed. If you go to a garden shop and ask for Mouse Magic, it's manufactured by Bonide, and it's a little packet. It's a pepperminty smelling packet that you scatter around in your transmitter building or in your ATUs or wherever you want to keep rodents at bay. And they don't like the smell, and the pepperminty smell smells real good. So you can even put them in the studio if you have a mouse problem there. But that would be good. And then the other thing, Kirk, I guess what you and I kind of grew up on was good old mothballs. Dropping a few of those on the floor inside the equipment racks and that sort of thing does a really good job of deterring rodents.
That's a good point.
And
I've used the mothballs. Snakes too. Yeah. What do snakes think about Mouse Magic? Does it bother them or not? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess if it did, it would be called Snake and Mouse Magic. But no, it's just right. For rodents. But it might work for the snakes. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that Kirk is no longer allowed to use mothballs at the Harnack house at all. Because the lady of the house does not like that smell. I like the smell of jet fuel, right? So
there you go.
I really do. But at the transmitter sites, we do use this. But you know what? In fact, it's in my shopping cart, a container of Mouse Magic. I just haven't clicked to spend the $25 to get it or not, because I was going to get a bigger box of it to try it out. But I was thinking of you, and it's in my shopping cart at Amazon to try that out.
Very good. Well, that's good. I think you'll be pleased with it, and it does smell good. So it's neat to have something that will deter pests, but isn't going to have a foul smell to it.
Passes the wife smell test, huh?
There you go.
Hey, here's a great idea from Steve Huber. Steve suggests that we have a gentleman by the name of Steve Newberry as a guest on our show. Do you know Steve Newberry, John? Have you run across him?
No, I can't say that I do.
I met Steve a long time ago, like early in my contracting days. Steve was in Kentucky, in Western Kentucky, and running a radio station there. Well, Steve is now with NAB. He's heading up the what's called the Q. I forget the Q effort. It's QUU for NAB for HD radio. And it's a listener experience and advertising experience for HD radio that really adds a lot more value than maybe we have to this point. It's well designed, it's intelligent, and that would be good to have. A couple of my stations are finally going to be doing HD radio coming up, and I'd like to certainly get the best that I can. You know what? Getting this new radio in my car, John, it brings my 15-year-old BMW up closer to today's standards with the CarPlay, so I get the map from the phone, and I can do streaming, of course, AM, FM radio, RDS experience, HD radios built in, and what was I going to say about? So it's interesting to see a few stations, not many, but a few stations do give me the not the album cover, not the album art, but at least they have their logo, their artistic logo. I'm thinking here in the Nashville area, it's the K-Love stations that have their logos. And when you save as a preset, a little tiny version, a little tiny thumbnail of the logo saves on the button for your preset. So you can kind of see it. It's really small, but you can kind of see your preset that way with the logo.
That's really neat. Hey, Kirk, one of the suggestions that we talked about before airtime was one that came in about the FM radio on the cell phone, and we were talking about how that was something that was available in India, I think you were saying. And
Yeah.
gentleman was asking why we don't have that here in the U.S. Good question.
That is, and I've thought about that a lot, even when it was almost a hot item here. Remember, for a while, NAB and others were saying, "Hey, FCC, why don't you mandate FM chips in cell phones as a means of emergency communication, as a means of distributing weather alerts or child abduction emergencies, that kind of thing?" And instead of that, what we got was, I think it's called WEA, the wireless emergency. I forget what it calls for, but it's what happens, at least at our church, on Sunday morning. We get a child abduction emergency alert and 85 cell phones in the congregation alert at the same time because somebody didn't bring their kid back on Saturday night, right? So the cell phone companies stepped up apparently and did their own thing. And I think there's just not a good financial incentive for cell companies to include an FM receiver, even though they could. There's a little problem with the antenna. You kind of have to be using an earbud, and a lot of folks don't want to do that. And a Bluetooth earbud doesn't do any good. So I think that with the 4G that we have and the 5G that's coming online, the bandwidths are pretty adequate, and there's just not a lot of reason to do an FM receiver in cell phones. I wish there was, but I've got one device. It's an older iPod. It's an iPod Nano, I believe, that actually does have the FM chip. It's got the FM tuning app in it. You have to have the earbuds attached, the wired earbuds. And then what? Apple took out the earphone jack, right? And you have to use Bluetooth. So they did the Apple and Samsung and these others. They just weren't going that direction. 10 years ago, they were in India because in India they had a huge demand for FM radio and not much ability to have bandwidth on the cell carriers, either infrastructure or over the air. So FM radios made sense in India for a while. Yeah.
And Kirk, that brings up a good point of why streaming is so important. And if your station isn't streaming, or if you're streaming and it's just sort of an afterthought, oh, I'll throw up some old computer and feed audio to it. You better rethink that. There are a lot of folks that are listening to stations via the stream. You want it to sound just as good as your over-the-air broadcasting.
You sure do. That's a good point. Streaming is critical. It's your transmitter for the internet is what it is.
That's right.
And of course, you and I work for a company that makes probably the best streaming products on the market because they have built-in audio processing that's designed for bitrate reduced streaming, and then does the encoding as well. So all my stations are on using Telos Zipstream products. Yeah. John, we're going to take another quick break here and hear about the Voxpro that's coming up in just a moment. Our show, it's episode 524. Thank you for joining us on this Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to you from me and from John. And if you joined us late, I know that a lot of you have heard about, and a few of you probably haven't heard about the passing of Chris Tobin, my co-host here on the show for the last 11 years. What a loyal co-host he's been. And according to his friends, he just loved doing the TWiRT show. And I know that many of you, got to meet him in person after hearing him doing TWiRT. And your comments, your encouragement back to him was so helpful. And whenever you would write something to me, I would forward it to Chris. Every single email I got from you, from fans and listeners, whether it came in on Facebook or whether it came in via the TWiRT webpage or to my personal email, I would always forward a copy to Chris so that he knew how much you were thinking of us and our efforts. So thanks very much. We will be doing a tribute show to Chris. Don't have a date yet, sometime in the next week to 10 days or so. In case you missed the beginning of the show, there will be a service for Chris. It'll be just after New Year. So it'll be on the first Sunday in January. That's the tentative plan. We'll have details for you. And by the way, it's supposed to be, I understand it's supposed to be a Zoom meeting, so that you and me and friends of Chris and his associates can at least listen and watch and maybe even participate ourselves if we want to say something about what Chris and his life and his efforts meant to us. So, and we will be back after this word from our friends at Voxpro.
Yo, what's up? Live from NAB 2018. Hey, it's Caden. You need to check out Wheatstone and Voxpro 7.1. The upgrades are amazing. If you're a jock, if you're a talent, producer, whatever, a morning show, everyone knows Voxpro, everyone uses Voxpro, everyone loves Voxpro, but now the features for this year, 2018, on 7.1 are amazing. If you're using version 4, 5, 6, and you go to 7, this is exactly what you're missing right here. The features are a game changer. It's going to cut down your editing time by like 80% depending on what you use Voxpro for. And with version 7.1, introducing unlimited Practic button bars right here, hotkeys right here. I'm going to show you coming out of a song.
Bad things. It's a lot of bad things that they wish and they wish and they wish and they wish.
So you're coming out of your song?
Yeah.
Start your next song right here. It's basically an entire production room right on Voxpro. So it's the Voxpro we know and love with a ton more features. And now this is the ultimate game changer right here. Effect macros. So instead of hitting your effects button bar and going up here using your mouse for every effect, you do it right here with one click of the mouse, and you're going to cut down your editing time by about 80% without even touching this new sexy black controller. Check it out right here, Wheatstone Voxpro 7.1 at NAB in Vegas 2018.
You can get it from Broadcasters General Store at bgs.cc. You can call Broadcasters General Store. These folks are really good on the phone. They give good phone. They love to talk to you, and you can call them at 352-622-7700. 352-622-7700 for Broadcasters General Store. I was talking to Buck Waters just yesterday, and Buck's been with him for a long time. Everybody at BGS can really be helpful, help you with your ordering, tell you how long something will take to get there, and give you good tracking information along the way, especially if you need it in a hurry. When I need something in a hurry, I call my friends at Broadcasters General Store, and they do have Voxpro. All right, it's Kirk Harnack along with John Bisset, and of course missing Chris Tobin, who has been our co-host for the last 11 years. So we said about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I decided we were going to give away some gifts on this show on Christmas Eve, and so we're giving away 3 of these. This is the little Surf 7-inch Android tablet, and here's mine. I unboxed one of them and decided to keep it myself. Sorry. So we're giving away 3 of them instead of 4. And the way you can win is go to our Facebook page. Be great if you like the Facebook page. You don't have to, but you can. And leave a comment in there, and we're going to pick randomly 3 people from the comments. The only rule is U.S. postal addresses only. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to deal with international shipping. But if it's U.S. postal, I'll drop this in the mail, and you'll get it by priority mail. So you should have it within 2 or 3 or 4 days at the most. So it's a fun little second, third device right here. I take mine in the bathtub with me. That way, if I drop it, it's not that big a deal. Haven't dropped it yet, though. All right, John, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but want to see what you might want to chit-chat about before we get to our giveaway. I see we have plenty of comments that have come in here. By the way,
great.
Gene Wittenberger does say, I enjoy the transmitter site programs. So we need to make sure that I love transmitter sites myself. That's always that was the highlight really of my Hawaii trip. I didn't have that much to do with the studio, but man, I wanted to take that helicopter ride and get to that transmitter site. Even though it was cramped and uncomfortable, I love transmitter sites.
So, Kirk, at the top of these mountains, is there a flat spot where the helicopter can land, or are you hovering and jumping out on the skids?
Well, I had been told that it was the latter, that the skid would just set on the ridge and you had to jump out. That's not quite the case. There actually is a landing spot. Now, the landing spot is nothing but a patch of dirt that's mostly flat. So it's nothing impressive. It doesn't have a big H in the middle for helicopter. It doesn't have a big target circle in the middle of it. None of that stuff. It's just a slightly wider piece of dirt than the rest of the ridge. And even the first day we took a Hughes 500D helicopter there. You recognize that one. That's the one that the bad guys fly in movies. When there's some evil dudes, it's painted black. And because that Hughes 500D, man, that thing is so maneuverable. It's a bad boy. However, the second day we had to go back there, we flew in in a Eurocopter, the one that's got that shrouded tail propeller.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. and a lot of life flight operations, hospitals use those. They're very stable. They're very comfortable. And on Kauai, those are used because they're very comfortable for tourists. Tourists tend to throw up less in a Eurocopter than in some of the others, because they're very stable. But the Eurocopter barely fit on the landings because it's got long landing pads. In fact, the Eurocopter we flew in, actually, this is everything to make the tourists feel comfortable. The Eurocopter we were in actually had floats on the skids that were all wrapped up, but they could be deployed by pushing a button, and all of a sudden your helicopter becomes a flotation helicopter.
Interesting. So the way this works, they drop you off and then they take off and you call them back and say, okay, I'm ready to be picked up, and they come back.
Exactly.
Is that the idea?
Now,
Okay.
if you know going up, hey, I know what needs to be done. I've got to push 2 buttons, unplug something, and so just wait for me.
Be
They'll
right
wait
back.
for you.
Yeah. Okay,
They'll sit there
cool.
and wait for it. With the clock ticking at anywhere from $1,300 to $2,800 per hour.
Wow.
That's what the helicopters cost to fly. That's what they charge to fly them. And I don't think they're making a huge profit on that, but those turbine engines, there's all kinds of life limited parts on a helicopter that you can't just, check it and make sure it's okay. You got to replace the part after so many hours.
You were a former pilot, or still are. Have you ever flown a helicopter? Or
I'm a fixed wing pilot.
just fixed
I
wing?
flew a helicopter
Okay.
for about 100 feet and decided I wasn't any good at it. So that was years ago. Actually, I helped a guy fix his helicopter. He had a home built helicopter. That was a nice one. It was a nice helicopter. But I helped him, and he said, "I'll take you for a ride." So he took me for a ride, and he started. And then he took me back, and he said, "We're going to hover." He said, "Okay." He said, you make the helicopter hover." And he was pulling my leg because very few people could do this first time out, because the feel is completely different than a fixed wing aircraft. And everything you do, every input you give it takes a second to get the result. So
Wow.
it's a whole different feedback loop with your brain and your hands and your, where you're going. It's a different feedback loop than flying a fixed wing aircraft. John, in 2021, I think I'd like to kind of wrap up, but we're going to do the giveaway after the last break. But in 2021, I sure anticipate a lot more. And I know this is a big word. It covers a lot of different areas of technology and possibility, but I see a whole lot more virtualization. I think
that's where everything is going.
Now, our employer has this new product called the IQS. It is a piece of software. You install it as either a Docker image on a Linux machine on a server, or you can buy it in an appliance that the Telos Alliance sells that it's already installed for you. And it doesn't have any local I/O. It's got network connections, but then you can buy, your I/O, whether it's X nodes or whether it's automation systems running the IP driver. But now that's the mixer, and you browse into it using, guess what? A tablet. And it's got all or a computer. You can have a big screen. It doesn't have to be a little tablet or a little phone. It can be a big screen. And I just see this as a game changer. You can use this thing locally in your building, so you can deploy you don't have to buy a console anymore to go in a new studio. You buy a computer with a browser, and if you want to get fancy, get a touch screen. And sure, if you need some local I/O, put an X node in there to handle your microphone and your earphones and your speakers. And voila, it's just amazing.
And Kirk, the other point with this, which is really pretty neat, is if you've got 2 or 3 shows that are operating from home, each one of them can have their own computer that can log in to the IQS engine or into the server, and they've got their own console right there in front of them, and it comes up on either their tablet or a laptop computer, or if they've got a touch screen monitor, it'll work there too.
And what's neat about that is that you can have several people controlling the same virtual console at the same time. And if I move my fader up and Sally Joe moves her fader up, I see her fader go up on my virtual screen. So it's not like you're operating blind without knowing what the others are doing. If they punch buttons, if they load a different profile, if they turn a fader on or off, everybody sees it. And I say it's instantaneous. Well, it's the speed of light and speed of computing, but it's almost instantaneous. It's just so cool. I love it. And I just see more and more of this kind of thing going to happen. We're going to see more radio stations running out of server farms. And
Sure.
look, that idea, look, I come from 1970s, 1980s radio. I love, the look and feel of a local studio and seeing your friends in the studio and going out and doing live remotes. And actually, you can still go out and do live remotes. They're even easier to do now than ever before. This just gives you so much flexibility in being able to run your radio station in the era of COVID or COVID-19 or COVID-20, whenever it comes along. It gives you the ability to operate without having the physical constraints of that building, where you got to pay rent, pay electricity, keep it safe, have a generator, have backup batteries, all those things that attend a 24/7 operation. You can leave it to people who have server farms who have all that anyway. People who take care of bank transactions. I'm telling you, they're not going down. They have every intent of being up and connected because they have to be. That's how they make their money. More so than radio.
All the time.
We got to realize. Yep. I'm sorry to hog. I keep thinking of things, John. There are businesses out there that depend on 24/7 file server operations that make a lot more money than radio does. They need them to be 24/7 more than broadcasters need them to be 24/7. They're highly incentivized to make sure that they work well all the time.
There you go. And so you should be taking advantage of it. It's IQS. If you want to get on the Telos website and just enter that in the search block, you can read up more about it. It's really a neat new technology that we're offering.
Yeah, IQS is in Sierra, or IQS is S is in software. John, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. All right, tell you what, we're going to do this giveaway after this spot break. John, if we're going to be all excited giving these away, and it's been great spending this hour with you. So thank you, and thank you watching. If you're watching live, Merry Christmas. Have a good New Year's Eve. If you're watching later, well, I hope you had a good Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Hope you had a great one with friends and family. If you were alone, I hope you got to reach out to somebody or somebody reached out to you. If you know somebody who's alone, man, give them a call, give them a FaceTime.
Call them up.
Yeah, call them up and go see them. Which reminds me, got to call mom, FaceTime with mom, probably tonight and tomorrow. Dad and stepmom, going to give them a call. Yeah, there's people who need to get phone calls and just feel your love and care across the miles. Maybe you should call your transmitter, let it know you love it. What do you think, John?
That is a great idea.
Here's what you don't do, though. If you know who the morning person is at your radio station on Christmas morning, don't call them tonight. Not a good. They need their sleep. Don't call them tonight. Call them tomorrow.
No, that's true. That's true.
This week in Radio Tech, our Christmas Eve edition is brought to you in part by my good friend, Josh Bone. We were just talking about Josh Bone. I was talking with Sam Wu. Sam is a good friend of Chris Tobin. Chris Tobin and Sam work together quite a lot. And they also have been working a lot with Josh Bone. And if you've watched TWiRT very much, you know that Sam does some amazing broadcasts using Josh Bone's Max Connect wireless technology. Let's hear a little quick testimonial about that, and we'll be right back with our giveaway. Hang on.
With all of the recent cybersecurity attacks against large corporations, we were looking for a product that would give us the ultimate security at our transmitter sites and as well as with our broadcast equipment. Max Connect fits the bill very well. Its greatest security feature is the fact that it gives you a single static IP address. Using this single static IP address allows us to close hundreds of open ports on our firewalls across the company and restrict access to only the Max Connect IPs. This has greatly reduced our exposure to the World Wide Web and made us much more secure moving forward. It's also given us the ability to expand as needed in a secure fashion.
Thanks a lot, John Takak, for talking about Max Connect Wireless. And you can find out for yourself how Max Connect Wireless can help you by talk Bone or one of his people that work with him at maxconnectwireless.com. I know it's spelled funny, so you got to spell it that way because there's so much on the web right now. And you can get on the AT&T network, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, Max Connect Wireless, and we use it for This Week in Radio Tech. and at our radio stations as well. And I know that a lot of radio stations do. This Week in Radio Tech is also brought to you in part by our friends at Angry Audio. Don't get mad. Get angry. This is the Angry Audio Bluetooth audio gadget. This is the way that this is the modern way to bring phone calls and high quality audio that may be stored on your phone into your podcast or into your radio broadcast. You just plug this. It's got audio ins, audio outs right here on the back. Yeah. And then it's got this antenna here for your Bluetooth, and it's got a little pairing switch right there. It is. I know where it is without looking at it. A little pairing switch that lots of, if you have Share Studio, different people can pair their phones with the Bluetooth audio gadget. And it automatically senses if you need to use the two-way connection for a phone call, for low delay and the best quality that can be gotten in that mode, or if you need to do the stereo mode where you're actually playing audio. Maybe you have an interview or you have some songs on your phone or your tablet that you need to get on the air. You do it with the Bluetooth audio gadget. Look, it's got a built-in power supply. It's got a 110 volt power cable on it right there, and designed in Nashville, Tennessee, down the road from the studio here. There's all the features there. If you go to angryaudio.com, you can read about the features. Many more features than I have time to tell you about on the show. By the way, if you're missing your Studio Hub products because you've used them for years, well, they have them at Angry Audio. Go to angryaudio.com and talk to your dealer. You can get all the Studio Hub products that you love, and they got more coming. Check them out, angryaudio.com. Thanks a lot for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. John Bisset, I didn't say you weren't eligible, but I'm going to hereby declare that you're not going to win one of these.
I don't think so. Hey, but Kirk, why don't we, real quick, where did you buy these? If someone doesn't win one, are they still able to get on the site where they were located?
Apparently, this brand, this ONN brand, is now a brand of Walmart.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the deal. So if you go into a Walmart store, they've got a bunch of big screen TVs, of course, from Vizio and JVC and the usual suspects. But they also have TVs that are there that have this ONN brand name on them. So, hats off to Walmart for bringing us cheap electronics. And I know there's worldwide monetary implications to all that. But the bottom line is, hey, if I need a few groceries and I want to pay a low price, I head over to my Walmart and get limes, lemons, bananas, fresh apples, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let's move on with this. This is a 7-inch Surf tablet, and you asked what it costs. I think the normal price is about $50, maybe $51, $51.95, something like that. It's in the $50 range. Wow, I got a better deal. Great. They put these on sale at we'll say close to half price. And so I picked up a few of these at half price, decided I didn't want to give away all of them. So I kept one for myself just to see how it works. The battery life's been good. The one thing that's terrible, there's the speaker right there on the back, and it's horrible. It's just awful. Engineers, friends, you're going to play a video on here and you're going to go, that's about the worst speaker I've ever heard in my life.
Never heard.
But if you do like I did, my wife goes to these medical conferences, or used to back when we could, and they give away all kinds of tchotchke. I think medical conferences have better tchotchke than broadcast conferences do, because she picks up these Bluetooth speakers. I mean, they're cheap and they got the company's logo on them, right? But they all these Bluetooth, and some of them are kind of heavy, and you can tell that you pair it up with a Bluetooth speaker of any kind of quality, and you play it through that, and it's like, oh my goodness, wow, it sounds pretty good. Just don't adjust your processing with that speaker. He's not gonna be happy. Oh, all right, John. Now you guys just gonna have to trust me to do this. I'm using an app called Contests for Pages. Contests for Pages. It hooks into a page on Facebook, and it draws winners for you. So you tell it, hey, here's the post I want you to look at. Here's all the comments that are on it, and I want you to randomly pick a comment, okay? Randomly pick a comment. And I'm going to tell it to draw 3 winners. 3 winners. So winner number 1 is, I got to get something to write this down. Otherwise, I'll probably forget to save the page. Sorry, folks. A little back end work here, a little behind the scenes. All right. First winner is James. And I never know how to pronounce your last name. Is it Duchesneau or Duchesneau?
No, Duchesneau.
Duchesneau. Well, thank you.
Yes. He's with Net Radio up in Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Well, James
They're a
Duchesneau.
very good customer of ours, so we're really happy that he won that. That's fantastic.
Well, if I need James' address, James, you can contact me, or maybe it's in our database over at the Telos Alliance. Quite maybe. All right, let's go to the next one, and it's going to be, it has chosen for us, Christopher Kelly. Christopher J. Kelly. So let's write down Christopher J. Kelly. Congratulations. Hope you have a U.S. address or a USPS address. Congratulations. And we have one more to go. Stand by. Looking it up now. Make sure I've got this right. We have, am I reading that right? Sorry, they don't make this easy because they put their advertising in here too. Matt Golston, Golston. Matt Golston, Golston. All right, James Duchesneau, Chris Kelly, and Matt Golston, congratulations. Each of you is getting a tablet for Christmas, and I will get them out the door. Well, it's going to be, Saturday before they go in the mail.
Saturday.
Yeah. But they'll be on your way. Congratulations. That was fun. And thank you. If you didn't win, thank you anyway. Your comments are going to read them all, going to capture them all, and use them for ideas for our shows coming up. I'm ready for, I don't think we have any eggnog. I drank almost all of them. All that's left is sludge from my.
I was going to say, what's in your milk chocolate there?
Yeah, just some sludge. I had some more Ready Whip during the commercial break. I think our producer Suncast saw me. I see him. Oh, so do you have any Christmas traditions that you do? And we have to go in just a second. Anything you and the family are doing special?
No, it's just quiet Christmas. I think in years past, going out Christmas caroling, there was a nursing home that used to go to. A bunch of us would get together and go and do some caroling to the nursing homes. But of course, that's not possible now. And so how about yourself?
Well, of course, normally we have plenty of family here, and despite COVID, we do have family here. Less than 10. Fewer than 10 are here, and they're all family that's been together before during this COVID. So it's immediate family is here in the house. So I'm cooking a ham tomorrow. It's a spiral ham, and I'm just warming it up. But I'll probably have some pineapple along with it, ham and pineapple, and I'm not sure what else. I'm a Brussels sprout fan myself, so I'm going to make some Brussels sprouts. Probably grill them in the oven. Cut them in half. Sprinkle some seasoning on them, put some olive oil down, and put them in the oven. Yeah,
that's really good. That's great.
And in case anybody didn't hear it before, I got to go finish putting a trampoline together.
We expect to see some pictures of you testing it out too, Kirk.
I'm sure you'll see some pictures. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for joining each and every one of you watching or listening. Thank you so much. A big thank you and Merry Christmas to Suncast. He's in the Christmas spirit with his hat on. And Suncast, if you're handy, you got the camera on, you're welcome to show your face and say Merry Christmas to everybody. We sure appreciate you being here every single week. There's our producer.
There we go.
Hey. And Merry Christmas also to Andrew Zarian and his family, the founder of the GFQ network. So that's it for us. We're next week, by the way, we're going to do another show on New Year's Eve. We're going to do it with a fun guest. Not that John wasn't, but another fun. What's that, Sudcast? It's Tom Ray. Yes. Tom Ray, and we don't know what he's going to be drinking before the show. We'll see.
I don't think it'll be hot chocolate, right?
I don't know. I have no idea. Tom's a good Catholic, so there's just no telling.
Very good.
All right. Take care, John. Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas, and thank you all for watching. We really appreciate y'all being on here with us.
Bye-bye. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye, everybody.